name's Jeff Clement. That's largely irrelevant. I'm not going to be speaking here much more here today, but who will be speaking. So first up is Kate Stevenson. Kate's the CEO of Novus Consulting, obviously guiding strategic direction of Novus, but also helping as an executive advisor for various medium and large organizations, helping guide organizational change, technological advancement. And then next up is Brendan Brown, the CTO of Vital Energy. You've been in the industry for about 25 years, advancing technology for various Fortune 500 companies. Most recently, a 12-year stint with Chesapeake, as the director of
Intelligent Operations.
Yes. Yeah. And then with Vital, obviously helping guide the strategic direction and the technical direction of Vital. So today we're going to be talking about Vital's journey to modernize and improve their well-delivery and capital management processes. And we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say, and I'll turn it over to you two.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff. So we're going to do more of a fireside chat today. So I'm going to ask some questions of Brandon on his journey, his digital journey. So we're going to start with kind of his strategic direction. When Laredo, about 5 or 6 years ago, Vital used to be called Laredo. And they had a change of leadership. And they realized that they couldn't scale with their intended growth. And they needed to really change up how they were using technology in the organization. So they brought Brandon in. And it's been pretty phenomenal to see what he's been able to do just in the last 4 or 5 years of really taking a company that didn't know how to really use their systems to now being a digital-first organization, and to the point where they're even talking about it in the marketplace. The innovation that this company does is pretty amazing to watch. So Brandon, how did you start that journey, and what steps did you take to kind of get to where you are today?
Sure. Thanks for the question. So a little bit about Vital before I go there. We're based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We operate in the Permian, produce about 55,000 barrels of oil a day, about 120,000 BOE equivalent. That's an important aspect as we talk about Vital. When I started about 5 years ago, the company really did not have a future. The company was trying to be acquired. That path was not working for them. So the board really shifted strategies, brought in new leadership, and kind of turned into a growth strategy. Since that time, we've now grown to having about 10 years worth of inventory. At the time I joined, it was about 6 months. The company has significantly transformed from where it was 5 or 6 years ago. Part of that transformation and part of that journey has been the digital components of that. And the CEO, as well as myself, believe that the entire industry is going through a transformation, and at the core of that transformation is modern technology such as data analytics at scale, cloud, machine learning, AI. All the buzzwords we're talking about now are really core to that transformation. So how we got started on that journey, when I joined Laredo at the time, there were 4 IT people, 0 processes, and as an example of that, we did our first life cycle where we replaced 100 machines. And out of that 100 machines, there were 54 different models that we replaced. A little bit about Vital before I go there. 0 standardization, 0 process. Servers had been patched since 2013. So it was, in a way, it was kind of nice because it was almost a greenfield, because you can almost just push all that stuff to the side and we're going to start over. In a perfect world, we would have fixed all that, we would have got all the right processes in place, and then we would have worked on what we call kind of transformation, or what we call digital. Unfortunately, we weren't in a position to be able to do that. The company needed help immediately, not fix operations, then do digital. So we did both at the same time. If we do all that again, we probably would do that a little differently than the approach we took then, but we made it through it. And it has been transformational on both aspects. So we've done some pretty phenomenal things with artificial intelligence to increase production, but at the same time we're leveraging modern systems and integrations in the cloud to improve what we call base business. Well delivery is what we call base business. And technology has really been at the core of all of those from a transformational standpoint. Are really core to that transformation.
So when you guys, so you've done all this work around data and standardization, and one of the things that you guys looked at 6 months ago was, how do I modernize my AFE process? And that's when we started talking about upgrading AFE nav to execute. And when we brought Quorum in to kind of look at the full suite of things, it was like light bulbs kind of went off in the room of all the business, because they realized that there's more to it than just AFE, that there's this whole well delivery process that they could improve on. And this, being able to integrate with capital management as well was a huge win. So what were some of the challenges that the team were faced with, and why they chose to go with Execute?
So part of the challenges with, I'm going to call it legacy oil and gas software, is its legacy oil and gas software, right? The integrations are poor. It's not necessarily built for the cloud. The interfaces aren't necessarily as intuitive as they could be. And probably the most important piece, and I touched on that, is the integrations between the applications, right? And when you have systems that are disparate like that, no matter what organization it is, if you're trying to do everything manually through spreadsheets and email, you're going to have errors, you're going to have data entry errors, you're going to have cost overruns, and you're not going to know where you're at. An example that I kind of like to use is we all have cell phones, and we probably all buy from Amazon. I could order something today, and it'll be on my front porch in 2 hours. And Amazon is, a lot of people have a lot of opinions on what kind of company that is. Is it a technology company? Is it a retail company? Is it a logistics company? And the answer is it's kind of all of those things. Oil and gas, sometimes we're about to drill a well, and we're going to dump millions of dollars into the ground, and we don't even know if we have the proper permit, right? If you think about that, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, how much money has Amazon invested to get me a $5 item in $5 item in 2 hours, but yet I'm about to drill a well, and I don't know if I have the right permit. All well delivery issues, I believe, operational issues around well delivery are solvable with technology. Right? And it's getting the light bulbs to click for operations to understand, hey, okay, I understand that I can do that way. What I miscalculated was, I figure everybody uses a cell phone. They use these kind of things all day long in their personal lives. That easily translates to business. 20 years ago, you would see technology first in business, and you wish you had it at home. Now you see it commercially first, and some people desire it in work. I figured that translation would be really easy. I massively miscalculated that. People don't see that as naturally as I thought they would. So doing exercises like this, where they can see the benefits, has really been a big eye-opener for folks to kind of see the larger picture.
And I also think that a lot of the work that you guys did prior to this, they now saw a different way of implementing technology in their day-to-day, and so they were probably better able to embrace what we're going to be doing with well delivery as well. So one thing too that you guys have been focusing a lot on is your data. So we've talked a lot at the Quorum Conference around your digital core, right? Well, that's what Brandon's really been working on the last 5 years, is building up that foundational component of data so that it's a lot easier to modernize and implement new technology, because you have your core in place, your data core, your foundation. So can you explain a little bit of what kind of you've done around data excellence, data governance, to be able to make it easier for Execute to come sit on top of that data platform and be able to expose a lot of the wellheader data that they're looking for?
Yeah, sure. The way we kind of, I would say, modeled that or describe that to the organization is we want a golden record, a single source of the truth. And to do that, we established a couple things. One, first we had to get some understanding and governance around data. Who is the data owner? What is a data steward? What are their responsibilities? And that's been an opportunity where we partnered with Novus, and we've been working on that for the last several years. That's another one that I would say I probably miscalculated on the overall aspects and difficulty of implementing a program like that. Especially moving from an organization who didn't do anything with data or didn't understand data-driven decisions at all. Our goal is to be a data-driven organization, and I think the saying is, Gardner has it, I believe, is every business decision should be a data decision, and every data decision should be a business decision, right? Well, in order to get there, you've got to have your data where you can leverage it. And with legacy oil and gas software, it's disparate, it's not integrated, it's siloed. So we implemented a data framework, a data lake. It operates as a data warehouse, a data integration, and we co-locate all of our data there. And with our data co-located there, we can get to a single source of the truth. We can manage the data there, and then we can leverage the data for analytics. The way we kind of the legacy systems was difficult with that. Some of the legacy systems, it's difficult to get data out of, right? There's not APIs. You got to go in the back where you got to finagle things. With modern systems, you're able to pull that out through APIs, and it's going to greatly enhance and speed up our transformation.
And that's something that all of our clients are asking for, is just access to your well data and be able to look at kind of, here's your master record, here's the source of truth, like Brandon said. And that's something that I think Qnections is really going to catapult you guys in front of, because you have your data now, you've created those standards, you've created kind of your master record, and now Qnections can sit on top of it and expose it to the organization as well as facilitate those processes. So that's something that I think is going to be a huge win for Vital. But another opportunity is the process side of it. So Qnections or well delivery is going to touch almost every single facet of the organization, right? It's not just about system processes, it's also going to be about your business processes. So how are you going to implement change management and process management into this to make sure that you kind of decrease the risk of any kind of process failure?
Sure, great question there as well, and it's another good lesson learned from something we started on 5 years ago, was we really underemphasized the criticality of change management. We miscalculated where our business partners were. The example that I kind of use in the office sometimes is we thought we were teaching them how to play baseball and how to run from home plate to first base, and it turns out they're really still at home and don't even know where the baseball park is yet. I mean, so we've miscalculated how much understanding they really had on that. So emphasizing really on a true change management program that I've really not seen done very well ever in my career, right? So get change management right, invest in change management, meet your business partners where they are, explain the benefits, the risks, the why, and help them understand how moving from point A to point B is, yes, it's difficult, but it moves you and the organization forward. That would be first and foremost. Second is start small. Whether you're working on what we call base business, operational aspects of well delivery, start small, solve problems. Starting small and solve problems build trust with your business partners and your capabilities. That eventually allows you to solve larger problems and do larger things for the organization with technology.
So have you found that with technology, so when Laredo kind of moved into Vital, and you were going through all that change and all that technology, but having melding those two groups together, right? The old kind of legacy people and the kind of new guard. Do you feel like technology kind of helps bring people together a little bit better, especially if change management is put on top of it?
It absolutely does, especially the co-location of data, because then you can start to look across silos and you can start to ask questions that you weren't able to ask before. I'll go back to COVID, right? There's nothing that really, at least from kind of our standpoint, that we did during COVID that was what I would consider digital transformation. But we did use it as an opportunity to accelerate the rollout of certain technologies. And then employees learned that, hey, wow, I could actually leverage Teams while I'm working at home, and I can get my job done, and I can still collaborate with my coworkers. And in some cases, it really increased collaboration. So that was a little bit of a gateway technology, I would say, to help people understand that, oh, wow, technology is different, and I can use it to improve my business processes.
Because well delivery, it's going to, with the workflow component now, you're able to, in those process sessions, when we start looking at how is well delivery going to work throughout the organization and all the people that it's going to touch, leveraging that workflow to bring all that data together and for everyone to know, here's my processes, here's what I'm accountable for, I think it's going to be a tremendous value to you, especially since what you've had, all the work that you guys have done have kind of led up to, I have my foundation. And now let's use that foundation to be able to bring people and processes together and eliminate those silos.
Yeah, I think it's going to help tremendously, multiple different fronts. One, it's going to help in base business and all the aspects we've already talked about. It's going to smooth that over. What we've ran into with what we kind of call our digital projects or transformational projects, where we're using AI to really drive increased production, reduce risk, those projects they run into roadblocks and barriers because we haven't done things on the operational base business side correctly. We have data quality issues, right? So instead of spending time on creating innovative projects and driving production, we've got to stop that. We've got to go help the business on, maybe it's one application application that's not integrated properly, so we've got to help them on base business operations, which takes away from the innovative work we're trying to do to really drive the organization forward. Having all the base business aspects streamlined and automated and integrated is going to enable us to spend more time on projects that actually truly move the company forward.
So there's probably a lot of people in this room that are evaluating or looking at maybe doing something similar. What would be some advice that you would give them before they start on a similar journey?
I would do proper due diligence on all software applications. We've had several vendors say they have robust APIs, and sometimes we took them for their word, and what they considered an API was an Excel loader. So do your due diligence on what the vendors are telling you from an application standpoint, test them out, make sure it works. There's a lot of SaaS applications out there. Some are working their way to be a real SaaS application. Some are legacy applications that they've kind of done some baling wire and duct tape to turn it into a SaaS application. Spend your time truly understanding. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but make sure you understand that before you go into it. And then bring your business partners along with that. We are 100% cloud. We have moved everything we have to the cloud. We fully embrace SaaS as much as we can. The business sometimes still questions that. Like, why did we do that? Well, in some aspects, they don't really need to understand the why, but they need to understand the benefits of why we did that. So really just bringing your business partners along, doing the proper due diligence, and again, investing in change management all the way around.
So what do you think some of the gaps are in oil and gas today to really drive some of this digital innovation like you guys have done? What are some gaps where other companies can say, hey, I need to go fix that, or I need to, try to fill that gap so that they can move forward with their digital innovation?
Yeah, so this is an old IT problem. I've talked about this for my entire career. Is the business needs to bring IT into problem solving sooner. So however you can make progress on that, we're slowly getting there, where they think about technology first, not second. Has been a big help for us, but also much more difficult than we anticipated. We just naturally think, of course you think about technology first to solve something. The other thing I heard a couple weeks ago at an AI conference in Houston was it was a professor from A&M. He taught some petroleum engineering course, been there for a long time. And his comment that what the oil and gas industry is struggling from right now when it comes to embracing technology and embracing change is they lack intellectual curiosity. And that just really resonated with me, as we don't, as an industry, really think differently about solving problems. We heard that, I heard it this morning in one of the sessions I went to, is we go to oil and gas conferences. Well, we all think the same and we're doing the same thing. We should be going to other industries' conferences. We lag most industries and technologies. That's not necessarily bad. Other industries have figured some of this stuff out. We can be learning from what they've gone through and accelerate ourselves on that digital curve at a faster pace than they were. So expand your opportunities to learn. Look at all industries, all technologies. The business needs to bring IT.
All right, do we have any questions from the group? Kind of opening it up for a Q&A.
We're slowly getting there, where they think about technology first, not second. That has been a big help for us. But also, so we started our journey 5 years ago. We probably spent the first kind of 6 months getting some basic things in place, like service desk, basic processes, cybersecurity program. Then COVID hit, so we kind of addressed that pretty quickly. And then I would say 2020, the summer of 2020 is when we really got started, when we took our developers and business analysts and took them to the field, put them in pickup trucks with lease operators, and really started building relationships with those folks and establishing trust. That's when I would say we really got started on actually trying to do things differently. With Execute, we're just now kind of starting down that journey. I'd say we've been on that journey probably about 6 months with Execute. Well, we all think the same and we're doing the same thing. We should be going to other industries' conferences. We lag most industries and technologies. That's not necessarily bad. With Execute, or it'll be a process one at a time. So we're going to start with AFE Navigator first. At a faster pace than they were. And really, our approach with that is solve the pain points, the largest pain points first. Now, with digital transformation, I would say start with some small wins, right? And we've done that, and we're kind of past that. Now we need to go solve some operational issues, and that's the one that kind of glares the most with inside the organization is our AFEs, cost overruns, lack of visibility into them, all those kind of aspects. 5 years ago.
And I think it's really important too on well delivery is that clearly defined process. right?
COVID hit, so we
Because
kinda addressed
this
that
has,
pretty
there's
quickly.
so much
And I would
potential
say
in what we can
2020,
do
summer of
with this
2020 is when we really got
application
started, when we took
and really
our
facilitating
developers
one
and
of the
business
most
analysts and
difficult
took them to the
processes
field,
in
put
an
them
oil
in
and gas
pickup trucks
company,
with
that
lease
prospect to
operators,
spud.
started building
And being
relationships
able,
with
because
those
again,
folks
like we
and
talked
establishing
about
trust.
earlier,
That's
you're
when I-
going
that's
to
when I would say we
touch
really got
almost
started
every
trying to
piece
do
of the
things.
organization. And a lot of
With
that
execute,
data
we're
is
just
so
now kinda starting
critical.
down that journey. I'd say we've been on that
And
journey
being
probably
able
about 6
to
months.
really clearly define those processes and get that right. And like Brandon said, have some quick wins. Fix those areas that kind of have the best value to the organization, and then go back and do it again and have those wins instead of trying to boil the ocean. If you try to boil the ocean, you might not ever get there, right?
And really, our approach with that is solve the pain points, the largest pain points
Yes, sir.
first.
So,
Now, with digital transformation, I would say start with some small wins, right? And we've done that, and we're kind of past that.
The
Now we need to
digital-
go solve some operational issues, and that's the one that glares the most with inside the organization, are AFEs, cost overruns, lack of visibility into them, all those kinds of
The digital side obviously is a huge transition for your organization, but Vital's also, made some pretty significant acquisitions in the last few years. How are you supporting some of those organizations getting rolled in, and like how does that blending into what you're already working through as modernizing Vital as a whole?
Yeah, good question. Definitely a challenge.
Like we talked about earlier,
We don't normally get a lot of input into what assets we're acquiring or how many, or input into the TSAs. So we did 5 acquisitions last year, and we're a little bit of a victim of our own success, is we find ways to get it done, right? We find ways to make the time frame within the TSA. Programs like Execute and having the proper well delivery and having the proper integrations in place is greatly going to speed all of that up. And what we're really trying to do is, hey, establish whatever TSA you need to get the deal done, and we'll not only achieve the time frame in that TSA, we'll accelerate it and complete the integration early. And modern, the less legacy oil and gas applications you have, and the more modern approach you take to that, and I'll throw cloud into that, all those things, accelerate your ability to achieve a faster date on your TSAs.
Digital side obviously is a huge transition for your organization, but Vital's also, made some pretty significant acquisitions in the last few years. How are you supporting some of those organizations getting rolled in, and like how does that blending into what you're already working through as modernizing Vital as a whole?
Yeah, good question. Definitely a challenge. A couple of answers to that. One, I would say just base business, right? So there's a mindset of, hey, you fix base business and then you do cool technology stuff. And the answer that I have to that is no, you leverage technology to improve base business. You do both at the same time. And if you look at the industries that have been transformed, Amazon's an easy one, but Uber's another one, and taxi, that they just disrupted. What oil and gas is, I think, trying to figure out is how do we disrupt ourselves. One of our early wins from what I'll call a digital kind of machine learning standpoint is we placed thermal cameras on several sites to detect venting and flaring. That was a huge win for us. That's being done all over the place in other industries. That was also something that really helped people understand that, hey, technology can help us do stuff. That's pretty cool. What was interesting about it is we had all the sensors to detect that stuff, but it was low fidelity data, right? So they were missing things. When you have a camera facing on that thing the entire time, you get all the data out of it. So what we learned is we were missing data points. In high fidelity data, we were able to solve that problem. All of that we took from other industries. Most of that, I'd say 95% of that algorithm was out of the box AWS. A couple of answers to that. One, I would say just base business. All right. So there's a mindset of, hey, you fix base business and then you do cool technology
was using
stuff. And the answer that I have to that is no, you leverage technology to improve base business.
How much crossover do you have between the users and the well delivery sort of space and the Execute AFE space? Is there some sort of savings on the training side that's kind of gone through the evaluation there?
Oil and gas is,
just
I think, trying to
because
figure
it's
out
kind
how
of
do
the
we
same
disrupt
tool and it kind of
ourselves.
feels similar and that kind of thing? Is there?
There's going to be, for sure. Is it there now? Can we quantify it? Probably not. But the fact that it's going to be more intuitive, it's going to be right there, more easily accessible, probably more accurate. That was a huge win for us. That's being done all over the place. I think all those benefits are going to be there. That was also something that really helped.
And I think there was a huge excitement from the business users
What was interesting about it is
to
we had
move
all the
on
sensors
to
detect that
execute.
stuff,
It seemed
but
like
it was,
across the
it
board,
was low
there was just
fidelity
generating
data,
a lot
right?
of
So they were missing
excitement,
things.
right? And
You
I
have a
think
camera
that's
face on that
testament to
thing
what you guys
the
have done
entire
with
time. You
execute.
get all The other data. aspect that we did that we
what we
should not
learned
have
is we
done
missing data points.
is we spent a lot of time trying to integrate legacy applications.
All of that we took from other
Right, we
industries.
spent a ton of development
Most of that,
time
I'd say 95%
trying to
of
get
the
these things to
algorithm
talk
was
to
out of
each
the box
other.
AWS.
And then when it was done, it still wasn't very good, right? The experience was still poor. So millions of dollars spent in IT time trying to integrate something, when really we should have stepped back. Us, as well as our business partners, should have stepped back and go, hey, is there a completely different way to solve this? Let's look at other solutions versus trying to,
How much
you know,
crossover do you have between
patch what we
the
already
world
had.
delivery sort of space and the execute AOP space?
That
Is there
leads into my second question, unless somebody else has.
savings on the training side that's kind of gone through the evaluation
you have
there?
any
Like just because
metrics
it's
that
kind of
you
the
can
same
share,
tool
like
and
a
it kind of
before
feels
and
similar, that
after?
kind of thing? Is there?
There's going to be, for sure. You know, is it there now? Can we quantify it? Probably not. But the fact that it's going to be more intuitive, it's going to be right there,
Speed up or
more easily accessible. I don't have any accurate stats I'd be comfortable sharing. I can say just by defining a process, not even yet fully implementing the technology, we've decreased errors, we've decreased the human errors, we've decreased human data entry errors. We understand where we are in the process better. Group A understands where, or Group B understands where Group A is. I mean, so all of that has helped create transparency across the organization from a delivery standpoint. But no, I don't have any metrics to share. We spent a lot of time trying to integrate.
Do you have sort of a magnitude on like how many people are involved in your well delivery process? And
Trying to get these
like
things to talk to each other.
picking a
And then
new
when it was
drill
done,
or
still
something
wasn't
like
very
that? How many
Right.
hands would that cross?
I don't know. Do
Millions
you
of
happen to
dollars
know? I don't know.
I do not know. That's a good question.
When really we should have stepped back.
Follow up next time.
Our business,
Yeah.
us, as as well as question. our business partners should have stepped back and go, hey,
How
is
about
there
just
a
flashing
completely
back really
different way to
quickly on the
solve this? Let's
integration
look at
side?
other solutions
Do you have,
versus
you've
trying to,
mentioned obviously integrating with the
patch
well
what we already
master
had.
and data warehouse side. Is there other things in the horizon that you think that the execute well delivery side is going to be kind of closely tied in with?
Yeah, good question, and I like that. Because, I mean, there's kind of, I'm going to say it maybe this way, is there's sexy stuff to do in IT, and there's the non-sexy stuff, right? We like creating solutions that help drive revenue, reduce risk, find efficiencies. We don't get that excited about spam, filtering, and cybersecurity, and all that kind of stuff, right? And I'll throw even some base business and operational and well delivery aspects in kind of the non-fun side, right? But if you get that side right and you get it good, you don't have to spend any time on it. You can spend all your time over here on the cool, fun things. So by getting well delivery right, not only is it helping our business customers be more efficient, it frees our resources up to go work on higher valuable work for our business partners. That's the side we're looking to for the most. We constantly get pulled off of innovative work to go fix something, right? So as we get our well delivery process right and automated, it's going to accelerate. It's there. Secondarily, though, the data is going to be more accurate by the time it lands in the data lake. We do all of our data innovation on the data lake. All of our AI solutions run there. So as data improves and the process improves around well delivery, our data becomes more accurate there, which will allow us to accelerate our innovation.
Data warehouse side, is there other things in the horizon that you think that the execute well delivery? I'm going to keep going then, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good question.
So
I
in
like
the
that.
data lake, is it kind of like a hub and spoke
There's
concept that
kinda-
you have then going with like
Correct.
all of
Yes.
these different edge
There's
applications
sexy
feed into
stuff
the
to do
data
in
lake, and
IT,
that's kind of the point
and there's
you
the non-
build the integrations
Right.
against?
That's We correct, like yes.
creating
And they have,
solutions that help
if
drive
you don't mind
revenue,
my talking
reduce
about
risk,
it, they have an enterprise well
We don't get that excited
concept.
about
So
spam, filtering,
that hub and spoke, they have in the hub kind of their enterprise
I'll
well,
throw even
and the
some base
different various
business and
systems
operational
kind of
well delivery
feed it
aspects and
based
kind of
on
the
who
non-fun
owns
side,
that
right?
data
But if you
at
get
that
that side
time.
right and you
So
get it
by
good,
doing
you don't
that,
spend
you're
any
able to
time
put
on it.
accountability on the
You can spend all
business
your time over
owners.
here on the cool
And
fun
because they've done a lot
So
of
by
that work
getting well delivery
already,
right, not only is it
when
helping
we
our business customers be
implement,
more efficient, it
execute, and
frees
have
our
that data
resources up to
visibility,
go
there's a
work on
higher trust in
valuable
what they're
work
able to see.
for
Because
our
right
business
now,
customers.
what they're struggling with is
That's
having
the side we're
visibility
looking to
into that
for the
data.
most. We
And
constantly
what
get
they're going to be
pulled
doing
off
with
of
execute
innovative
is
work
really
to
going to
fix
help
something,
help
right? So as
increase
we get
that.
our well delivery process right and automated,
So for your
it's going to accelerate. It's there. Secondarily, though, the data is going to be more accurate by the time it lands in the data lake. We do all of our. So we're using all AWS native tooling, right? And then really the magic behind what we've done with that is how we've stitched it together from a DevOps standpoint. So it's Lambda, Glue, all those aspects there, AWS.
Is there a reason why you went custom dev versus out of box?
There is a reason. So when we started this journey 4 years ago, as I touched on, Laredo at the time had maybe six months worth of inventory. Our production was significantly declining. Oil went negative not too long after we joined, so we didn't have any money.
talking about.
That's the main
They
reason.
have,
So we decided to get
enterprise
creative and try to be
concepts.
innovative and
So,
really kind of, I would say,
that
eat our own
hub
dog
and
food
spoke,
and
they
find
have
different
the
ways to do
hub, kind of
things.
their enterprise well,
We've had a great
and
partnership
the
with
different various
AWS
systems
that goes back to previous
based
employers.
on who owns
So
that
really
data
sat down
at
and
that
worked with them to
time.
understand
So
how their
by
technology
doing
could
that,
really
you're able
accelerate
to put
that.
accountability on
And
the
it's
business owners.
far more cost
And
effective
because
than
they've
any of
done
the
a lot that
out-of-the-box
work
solutions.
already, when we implement, execute, and have that data visibility, there's a higher trust in what they're able to see. Because right now, what they're struggling with is having visibility into that data. And what they're going to be doing with execute is really going to help increase that.
How many times you go back with users and look at processes to improve or any type of user community?
So we're using all AWS native tooling, right? And then really the magic behind Sure. what we've done with that is how Yeah, a we couple stitch comments on together that. DevOps. That resonate pretty well.
So it's like
Glue. The first thing we did when we started was really build relationships with our field guys, and that's paid off. That's paid dividends for the past 5 years, right? We went out there and spent time with them in the trucks. We went to happy hour with them. We got to know them and their families. That's paid dividends. So that's been important. Through that process, though, we operate in 2-week sprints, and that helps those guys feel like they're involved in something versus something happening to them. Right? Traditionally, IT would go get requirements, they go away, they come back 18 months later with this fancy product, and the business is like, I don't need that any longer. Right? With this process, kind of gathering requirements that change constantly, doing that on a 2-week basis allows them to supply input into that. And from a change management standpoint, I think it helps because they have some sense of ownership with that aspect. So that's been one thing that's been really helpful for us. I think second is just the pace at which we move as an IT department that's helped, and our relationships with the business. So the way I describe it to our leadership is we want to be a digital oil and gas company. Well, IT can't do all the digital work. You have to have digital people to be a digital company. So what we've been doing, we've done this in a few parts of the organization, is add what we call a business technologist. It's kind of like a business analyst, but with maybe more technical skills. When they start, we help with the interview process, and then once they're onboarded, they spend anywhere between 5 to 6 weeks with IT, kind of an apprenticeship. And they rotate between all of our departments in IT, and we spend time explaining the why behind why do we do something. Like, well, why do we use this tool? Why do we follow this process? Why do we have a data lake? So when they go back out into the business and they're placed there, they understand why we're doing what we're doing, and we have less resistance on some of that. They're not allowed access to any production system, so they have to work back with us, kind of that hub and spoke model still. But it allows us to scale as an IT department and allows each business unit to have a resource that's solely focused on what that particular business unit needs. One of the issues we've run into a lot through this, before we started this business technologist aspect, is business groups would get frustrated because we weren't spending time with them. Right? We're over here on production because there's a huge ROI over there. We're not working with audit. Having business technologists across the organization allows groups like audit to get the attention and services that they need while still following the standards and processes that IT has established. So what we've been doing, we've done this in a few parts of the organization, is add what we call a business technologist, kind of like a business analyst, but with maybe more technical skills. When they start, we help with the interview process, and then once they're onboarded, they spend anywhere. So we're about 350 employees overall, about 100 contractors, which is around 450-ish, somewhere in there. I think we have 50 open positions right now. IT's around, I think our number's 27. From a pure developer standpoint, like application developer, I have one. But I have several data engineers and data developers. Right? So we try to, as much as we can, buy solutions off the shelf. Always prefer that. But the custom development we've done, where there are algorithms or machine learning, that's all kind of data development. And got a pretty expansive team there, 4 or 5 people that spend really all their time kind of fully immersed in the data aspects of things. One of the issues we've run into a lot. Big partner network too. Novus is a huge partner. We have other partners. If we need application development, we're usually sourcing that through a partner to help us with that. There's a huge ROI over there. We're not working with audit. Having business technologists across the organization allows groups like audit to get the attention. We probably ask 3 different organizations and get 3 different answers. To me, system standpoint, it's a well as soon as it's in a system, it's got a name. It's a well. So you can probably help me out on this one. But it starts in GIS. So we start the well in GIS, and then it's integrated and flows out from there. And then through that process, it ends up in the enterprise layer out to the other applications. IT
And that's
is
one of
around,
the
I think, our
things
number
too,
27.
Brandon hit on
From
is
a
if
pure
you ask
developer
anyone
standpoint,
else
like
in the
application
organization,
developer,
you
I have
might
one.
get 3 different answers.
have several data
And that's
engineers.
something that through the data governance
we try to, as
program,
much
they've
as we
really
can,
been
buy
trying
solutions
to
off the
work
shelf,
on
but always before
defining that.
that,
But we're
the
hoping
custom
through well
development we've
delivery
done, whether
that
our
we can all take a
algorithms or
step
machine
back
learning,
now
that's
that they've
all kind
gone
of
through
data
all this
development.
change and all
We've got
this
pretty
governance
extensive
and,
team there.
and sit back and say what
all
makes
their kind of
sense and all be on the
fully
same
immersed in the data
page
aspect of things.
and help well delivery and other
Big
the
partner
entire
network, too.
execute
Novus is a
platform
huge
help
partner.
them continue to make those decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of times, because of how we've operated historically with siloed applications and lack of integrations, Group A doesn't know where Group B is, right? So with a fully integrated platform, everybody's going to know when that well hits GIS and when it hits that enterprise layer, they'll be able to see it more transparently. 3 different answers. To me, system standpoint, it's a well as soon as it's in the system, it's got a name.
With AFE module of execute to begin with. Are you doing that just because
So,
you go from
the-
AFE nav
yeah.
to that
You
module?
can probably help me out
That's
from this
a
one. It
simple
starts in GIS.
Yes.
It's a quick
Starts well
win.
in GIS, and then it's integrated and flows out from there.
Is that-
Through that process, it ends up in the enterprise layer out to the other
At
applications.
all? Like, what do you use now?
Yeah, it's
that's one
working
of the
today.
things,
I
too,
mean,
you know,
there's
Brandon
just
hit
issues
on
and
is
gaps
if you
with it,
ask
right? There's
anyone
cost
else
overruns,
in the
there's lack of
organization, you might
transparency
get
with the way we're
3
doing it
different
today. I mean, we
answers.
have an expansive,
And
well-delivery
that's something that through the
process.
data governance
It's just not
program,
fully
they've
supported
really
with
been
technology.
trying to work on
A lot of it's just
defining
Excel
that.
files.
But
Like,
we're
yeah, I still
hoping
get
through
a
well
rig schedule
delivery
email every
that we
day
can
with
all
this
take a step
with an
back.
Excel
We've gone through
report
all
in it.
this change and all this A lot of governance, emails, a lot of sit back calls, and say right? what makes And I sense think they were and all really be on the excited same when they page saw and help well delivery execute and being other- able to the facilitate, entire having the execute system platform facilitate a help lot them of continue what's to make on those right now, a decisions. swim lane.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
Because
Right
of
now it's
how-
in a
how
swim
we've
lane
operated
form
historically
and
with
everyone
siloed
has it and everyone
applications and
knows
lack of
it,
integration,
but a lot of that is
Group A
still
doesn't know where Group B
manual
is, right? So with a
handoffs,
fully integrated
right?
platform,
And we're
everybody's
hoping
gonna know
that
when
with
that well
this, we can really
hits GIS
automate
and when it hits
a
an
lot of
enterprise layer,
that
they'll be able to
and go back to some standards that were developed because they didn't have that automation and see if we can make it more mature around defining kind of that prospect to spud process.
Yeah, well, what happens when you don't have a system in place, right, is you change the process and then there's a hiccup with the process, right? Well, then the users naturally just default back to what they've always done. And we've had that happen multiple times. And that's just what happens with humans when you don't have a system to facilitate something with.
Especially when you're as busy
Yeah,
as they
it's
are
working
and they
today.
have all
I
those
mean,
acquisitions,
there's just issues
that
and
their,
gaps
you know,
with
their
it, right?
capacity
Cost overruns,
to
there's
follow
lack of
standards, their
transparency with the way we're
capacity
doing
to
it today.
follow
I mean, we
these
have an
processes
expansive,
are a lot
well-delivery
harder to do.
process.
With
It's just not
technology,
fully
it could do
supported
it
with
for them,
technology.
right?
A lot of it's just Excel files. Like, yeah, I still get a rig schedule email every day with this with an Excel report in it.
A lot of emails, a lot of calls, right? And I think they were really excited when they saw execute and being able to facilitate, having the system facilitate a lot of what's on right now, a swim lane, right? Right now it's in a swim lane form.
Yeah,
and everyone
the
has
simplest
it,
way I
and
can
everyone
answer that
knows
is
it,
there's
but a
APIs
lot
on
of that
both
is still
sides. So we'll
manual
leverage the APIs on both our data
handoffs,
framework as well as the
right? And we're
APIs
hoping
on the
that
form side.
with this, we can really automate a lot of that and go back to some standards that were developed because they didn't have that automation and see if we can make it more mature around defining kind of that prospect to spud process.
Yeah, well, what happens when you don't have a system in place, right, is you change the process and then there's a hiccup with the process, right? Well, then the users naturally just default back to what they've always done. And we've had that happen multiple times. And that's just what happens with humans when you don't have a system to facilitate something.
Especially when you're as busy as they are and they have all those acquisitions, that their, you know, their capacity to follow standards, their capacity to follow these processes are a lot harder to do with technology. Yeah, and I think we're still in the early stages of doing the definition and the design planning. So I don't think all the answers are kind of known yet of how that
Yeah,
would
I
work.
think the gist of it is there's multiple ways to probably get that done, and we're gonna go whichever path works the best, best for us from a technical and cost standpoint.
Kate, from your perspective and the other clients that you're working with to implement, execute.
Yeah, the simplest way I can answer that is there's APIs on both sides, so we'll leverage the APIs on both our data framework as well as the APIs.
Well, a lot of people want to, there's a big need to have visibility into their well data and the critical data that goes with it. And so what I say is like that well header, right? Kind of your master data management. And a lot of that data is generated through the prospect to spud process. And then being able, using a tool like Execute to be able to facilitate all those processes and create data and bring it together, and be able to see it all in one spot is what everyone's asking for. This piece of the process is highly manual. There's not a system out there today that can effectively orchestrate all the pieces and components of it, like what you guys have built here with Execute. So I don't think all the
So another
answers
question about your enterprise as well. So
Yeah,
besides
I
the
think
solution
the
itself,
gist
what
of
are
it is
you
there's
using
multiple
for the
ways to
governance
probably
of
get
it?
that done, and
Do
we're
you
gonna go
is
whichever
it,
path works the best, best
individuals
from
from
a
each
technical.
discipline that are responsible for their component of that golden record, or do you have like a single person or two that is, that's their job?
Yes, it's the first one. You know, each business owner is accountable for their data, as well as we've built data quality rules and tools into the data architecture itself, leveraging machine learning to help with some of that data quality.
There's a big need to have visibility into their well data and the critical data that goes with it. And so what I say is like that well header, right? Kind of your master data management.
Yeah,
And
that's in the list.
A lot of that data is
Absolutely.
generated through the prospect to spud process. And then being able, using a tool like Execute to be able to facilitate all those processes and create data and bring it together and be
Yeah.
able to see it all in one spot is what everyone's asking for. This piece of the process is
All
highly
right.
manual.
Any other questions?
There's not a system out there today that can
All right, thanks, everyone.
effectively
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
So another question about your enterprise as well. So besides the solution itself, what are you using for the governance of it? Is it individuals from each discipline that are responsible for their component of that golden record, or do you have like a single person or two that's their job?
Yes, it's the first one. You know, each business owner is accountable for their data, as well as we've built data quality rules and tools into the data architecture itself, leveraging machine learning to help with some of that data quality.
You mentioned prospect to spud as your first phase of well delivery. Will y'all be planning on working on spud to pop or on production?
Yeah, that's in the list. Absolutely.
Did you consider custom data when you were doing your analysis, when you were looking at Execute?
No.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.